Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for a special exclusive video clip from AUNTIE. And I'm going to call this my card talk, y'all. We have not had a card talk for a long time. We have not sat down and talked for a long time about something. But let me tell you, I saw this clip on AUNTIE where they are showing a scene between Chris, Sandia, and they brought in the narcissist doctor, y'all. The narcissist doctor. I don't know if y'all ever watched this doctor. Her name is Dr. Ramani, and she's on YouTube. She does a lot of videos on narcissism, narcissist, and a couple of us have been looking at Chris sideways saying, is he one? Are you one, Chris? Are you a narcissist? Well, we got the narcissist doctor here with us. Finally, a therapist. I'm going to give Never Ever Met some credit because on all these shows, all of them, Married at First Sight, Love is Blind, Ready to Love, we're always talking about people need therapy. People need a doctor. And they bring doctors on, but sometimes these doctors are a little bit too fluff to me. But one thing I know about Dr. Ramani, because I've seen a couple of her videos, she gets to it. She gets to the meat and she asks the questions that she needs to ask. So I'm happy to see her here. But my bigger question on this card talk video for all of you out there in the world is, can people change? Can people change? We've seen a lot of behavior from Chris that we don't like. I know I don't like it. I don't like a lot of the behavior that I've seen from Chris. The question is, and we've all told Sandia, run. My question is, can people change? Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. I think people can change, but I don't think they change all that much. Hear me well. I do believe that people can change. But once people get a certain age, what I figure out is that, you know what? They can change, but can they change enough for me to be comfortable with them? Let's just say you have a mean person, a real mean person. Now, if you're believing that a mean person can all of a sudden turn into a nice person, I say, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. I don't think you go from being a mean, cold-hearted, to your core type of person, then all of a sudden you become a nice person. Nope, I don't believe that. What I do believe is you can become less mean. That's completely different. It's completely different going from nice, being mean, to being nice versus mean and being less mean. Then the question becomes, in your improvement from being mean to less mean, is that going to be enough for me? Is that going to be enough for me for you to go from mean to less mean? Sure, you improved. Sure, you got better, but you started so far down the hole with me in terms of what I may like that your improvement is not going to be worth enough for me. That's true. That's how it happens sometimes. Sometimes you're asking people for change and they say, I have changed. I have done better. And what we say is, well, it's still not enough. The change isn't enough for me. And that's typically because the person started too far in the hole with you. So that's what I say about people who are out here looking for people to get with. And they say, you know what? I don't like it about this person, but I do believe that people can change. Be careful about that. Be careful about trying to expect too much change from a person. Okay? Because what could happen is you want this amount of change. They're really only capable about this amount of change. And then what will happen is when they feel they have changed, because technically they've changed, they've gone from here to here. And so they want credit for that. They want you to shower them and give them attaboy, attagirl, way to go, I'm happy now. When the truth of the matter is, when you were asking for change, you weren't asking from here to here. You were asking from here to here. That's what you were asking for. Okay, I think some people can change. I think some people want to change. But do people have the ability to make real big changes? Real big changes. Some people do in the world, but I think those are smaller. I think those occasions are smaller. I think there is a wiring of people that, yes, we can improve, we can change, we can have incremental change. But can we make big leaps and bounds? I don't think that we can. And that's why I said with Sandia, I feel like Chris is so far in the hole of the way that he thinks about things that I believe that the change he could even come up with, I don't believe that it will be enough of a change to be able to be a good partner to a person like Sandia. To another person out there in the world who won't need as much change from Chris, Chris might be a good partner to them, because that other person may not need Chris to treat them as gently as I believe Chris needs to treat Sandia. Okay, then maybe they won't need that much of a change. So maybe if Chris goes from here to here, maybe somebody can deal with him. But for Sandia, I don't believe that he's capable of doing enough of the change. But let me tell you something. We are here to go through this clip with Dr. Ramani. We're going to be stopping it along the way, because I'm going to be asking some questions. She's going to be asking some questions. And all of you all probably going to have some of your own questions, and we're going to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get started and listen to it.
We believe in a lot of the same things.
You said we have shared morals and values.
Yes.
What, on your side, Chris, what are those morals and values?
Well, we both grew up in a household with both of our parents.
Okay.
I believe a man should be masculine and a woman should be feminine. And she believes in the same, and she lets me be the man in the relationship. And she's feminine, very feminine, which is what I look for in a woman. So those values are from, the dynamics of my household with my mother and my father.
I want to say this. One of the things I believe has happened out here in the world is when someone uses adjectives to describe something, we typically assign our value to those adjectives. When Chris says, I believe that a man should be masculine, a woman should be feminine. If you're meeting a person, do not assume that their definition of masculine is your definition of masculine. Do not assume that their definition of femininity is your definition of femininity. So when you're getting to know a person, one of the things you have to do in your conversation is don't skip over these adjectives. I think a person should be masculine. Your question to me, what does masculinity look like? That's what you need to get to, because oftentimes what someone believes is masculine, you may not even believe is masculine. You may believe that what their definition of masculine is toxic masculinity. So you just can't say, you can't just let it go by in your conversation of dating. I believe the man should be masculine. You go, yeah, me too. I like a masculine man. Because you're agreeing to something, but you have no idea what that man's definition of masculinity is. So whenever people start defining words, I think you need to have an agreement on what the word needs, or not necessarily an agreement. You need to have an understanding of what they mean. And that's what I mean. When I'm talking to people in my comments or even on my videos, oftentimes people would challenge me on adjectives that I use, because sometimes they don't have the same definition of the adjective that I have. That's fine. So I often say, okay, what do you describe that behavior as? And oftentimes when I ask that question, what do you describe that behavior as? They actually will describe it using phrases or combination of words in which I agree. So what I tell them is, okay, I'm okay if you don't want to use my term for it, because actually when you're describing the situation or describing it, I agree with what you're saying. So if in order for us to move on in this conversation, if you want me to drop my term so that we can just say, yes, we're actually on the same page in terms of way we see that behavior, let's move forward. But oftentimes what people get stuck on is their definition of the word. And really that isn't where you should get stuck. You shouldn't get stuck on the definition. You should understand the meaning. It's two different things. The meaning. Be willing to come up off of, I want to say maybe a title that you may use for something, if it means you get a better understanding of what the person is talking about. So if someone says, hey, I think that woman is pretty, you look at her and you say to yourself, I don't think that she's pretty. What you should say then is, what is attractive to that lady about you? What about that lady is pretty? Okay. And let that person say, it's her eyes, it's her smile, it's her nose. So now you don't have to agree that, hey, no, you think she's pretty. I don't think she's a pretty. But what you could agree upon is say, yeah, I do think her eyes are pretty. I do think her nose are pretty. I do think her lips are pretty, whatever they are. Now, you may not have prescribed an entire pretty label to her completely, but you may have agreed that those three things were pretty. And that's the important part in the discussion. The important part in the discussion is finding where you have commonality, finding those places where you agree, but it's also discovering those places where you disagree with, because that's how you really evaluate a person in a relationship, because you do want to know how many of these foundational areas are we different. And then you say, we're starting off different. Can either one of us change enough in order to come into agreement, right? But in order to do that work, you can't keep glossing over adjectives that people use. You have to ask the questions. So let's go on with this video, because I watched a little bit of it. And what I know is Dr. Ramani asked Chris the questions I would want to ask him. Let's keep going.
What does that mean to you? You said masculine and feminine. What does masculinity mean to you?
For me, it means leader.
Okay.
Leadership, protector, provider. That's
And what
it.
does femininity mean then?
Being caring, nurturing.
Okay.
The way we would raise kids. We've spoken about that too, which is very important for me. It's like she's definitely the type of woman that I would like to have a kid with.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there again. First of all, when he said, I like a woman who's very feminine, did you see how Sandia smiled? More than likely, she's smiling because she has an adjective of what femininity looks like. And what she's saying is she finds that a good quality. But then she doesn't know what he meant by femininity. Chris's femininity could mean you don't speak back. That's feminine. Femininity means if I say something, you listen, you don't talk back. Now, Sandia might say, well, wait a minute. I don't consider that feminine. Well, you never asked what femininity meant. You agreed, you nodded, and you smiled because in your mind, femininity means one thing and you were pleased to be called that. But what you didn't know was, what does femininity mean to him? Does femininity mean you agree with him all the time? Does femininity mean that whatever he says goes? And that's the problem we've had with Chris. The problem that we've had with Chris is, how does he describe these things he's talking about? What do they mean? So Dr. Ramini asked a good question. What does masculinity mean about? And what he said was leader, provider, protector. The cliche term out here in the world now. Don't let that go by, ladies. Don't let a man sit out there anymore and tell you he wants to be a leader, a provider, and protector. And you ladies, don't run around talking about you want a leader, provider, protector. Okay? Because I want to know with Chris, a protector of what? What are you protecting me from? What if you're the enemy? What if you're the one that's making me feel attacked and abused and hurt? Who are you protecting me from? The world? People out here? Well, not really, because we've seen on TV that when people were attacking Sandia and Sandia said her feelings were hurt, did we see Chris protect her feelings? No. So when you say you want to be my protector, a protector from whom? Sometimes people are talking about protector from burglars coming in the house. What? I got an alarm system for that. Why need you be the protector from a burglar coming in? I'd rather you be a protector of my heart, of my feelings. But when we hear Chris saying he wants to be a protector, my question would be, a protector of what? A protector of materialistic things? A house we live in so no burglars can come in? We could get a dog for that. We could get an alarm system for that. We can have a gun in the house for that. We can have a taser machine. We can have some pepper spray. What if you're the enemy? What if you're the one I feel attacked from? What if you're the one doing me more harm than the people in the street? Sometimes you are hurt more by people who are close to you in your own house, laying in the bed next to you, more than you're attacked by people on the street. You see what I'm saying? So when he says, I want to be a leader, a protector, a provider, that's another thing you want to know. A provider of what? What do you mean a provider? By the phone, provider for my clothes, provider for my food, or provider for my mental health? Which one? You want to provide me good mental health? You want to provide me good vibes? What do you want to provide me? Because what we've seen about Chris is, I think he means provider pays the bills. That's it. Pay the bills, which means that doesn't come up with any other level of provision. How about a provision for my emotions? How about providing me space for my opinion? How about providing me space for my emotions, my feelings? He doesn't provide any space for that. So when you want to be a leader and a protector and a provider, I would want to say a provider of what? What do you want to provide? What do you want to provide for me? What do you want to give me in this provision? What is it? Is it grace? Is it mercy? Is it forgiveness? Is it love? Is it patience? Or are you just talking about paying the bills? And what do you want to protect? You want to protect the home from intruders? You want to protect, the house from getting damaged from the rain? What are you protecting? You want to protect a man from grabbing me on the street and dragging me in a car? And what do you want to protect? Do you want to protect me from you? Or do you want to protect me when other people are attacking me? Do you want to protect my emotions? You see, that's why don't let anyone out here, especially nowadays, keep touting this phrase, leader, provider, protector. And that's why I tell women, stop saying it. Because when you say it, you're assuming that the man agrees to your definition of leadership, providing, and protecting. And you cannot believe it. You cannot believe that people have the exact same definition of you and that their priority is the same as yours. But let's keep listening.
So it's like, for me, our relationship definitely works. Of course, everybody has fights, but it's been amazing.
Okay.
I shall say that.
Okay. So just like Chris said, his relationship has been amazing with Sandia. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Okay. And let me tell you why I believe it. Because he's getting actually everything he wants. He just said that what he wants is a feminine person. And what I want is a person being nurturing, kind, caring, a person that I can see as the mother of my children. This is why I told you guys he was not interested in Joanna. Because Joanna does not embody these very characteristics that Chris likes. Chris wants a person who is feminine, who is caring, who is nurturing. Jody doesn't emit any of those types of things from her. She just doesn't. Chris liked Jody and Joanna because what Jody and Joanna, what she's doing is she's agreeing with Chris. You see, that's the other part of femininity that he didn't say. Agreeable, agreeing with me, taking on my thoughts, taking on my opinions, letting me be the provider of thought. But here's the problem. In one way, Chris wants a woman who will let him lead and will let him sway that woman's opinion, that woman's thoughts, which means that woman is amenable. That means that woman is agreeable. But here's the problem that Chris had. He had the problem because she also listened to other people, right? So what Chris really wants is he doesn't want a woman that's agreeable. He wants a woman that's agreeable to him only. That's the difference. He wants a woman that will agree with him, a woman that will be kind and nurturing and kind to him. But when that woman shows kindness to another person, when that woman shows listening to another person and even maybe being agreeable with another person, you know what Chris calls her? Weak-minded. Weak-minded. So what Chris really wants is he wants you to be feminine, kind, nurturing to him. But then out in the world, he wants you that if those people don't always agree with him, he wants you to be the opposite with them. See, this herein is the problem why Chris's life is so lovely. He loves it, but there is no safe space for Sandia. Because what Chris is willing to do is he's willing to accept all the benefits of being with a woman who is kind and nurturing. But then what he wants to do is he wants not only to choke her off from being able to be that authentic self in the world, because he really doesn't want to see that out in the world. He then wants to always control that about her and say, only have it for my benefit. Well, that's not how kindness works. When a person is kind, they are kind. They're not kind to one person. That's why I keep telling people, be very careful of when you meet a man and you say, oh, wow, he treats me so kindly. He treats me so kindly. But once you start meeting his friends, you meet his family, you see the way he gets along with people on the job, you find out that all those other people don't describe him as a kind person. They say he's mean, he's hard to get along with, he's got a temper, he's angry. And then what you say is, well, I don't see that with me. He's so kind to me. He's so nice to me. Don't believe it. Don't believe it. Because there's only two things that could be going on. He's kind with you, but he's mean and faking it for all these other people, or it's the opposite. All these other people, it's the real deal. He really is a mean person, and he's faking it with you in this portion of the relationship because he's trying to rope you in. That's the truth. It's very difficult for people to be two different people all the time. Be very afraid of when you see one person over here and you see a completely opposite person over here. This is why people run around. This is why people like Chris, who sometimes are selfish people, they love kind people. Selfish people love kind people because selfish people don't want to run around giving to others. They want to go around receiving from others. And when they stumble upon a kind person, a nurturing person, they love it. Chris likes Sandia. That's why I said, oh no, he likes Sandia, because Sandia is exactly what he wants. He wants a kind, nurturing, caring person that's going to take care of him and take care of his kids. Got it. I believe it. But what's going to bother him is when Sandia is kind and nurturing in the world. Because when she's kind and nurturing the world, he's going to get irritated by it. He's going to call her weak-minded. He's going to say she doesn't have a spine. He's going to say she listens to people too much. That's what he's going to say. He's going to put her down. And what Sandia is going to say is, it's a part of me. I like listening to people. I like giving people's emotions thoughts, giving other people's emotions considerations. And what Chris is going to do is, I don't like that part of you when you do it for other people. I only like it when you do it for myself. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. So Sandia needs to be very careful smiling because this man says, I like you because you're feminine. Because what he's saying is, I like your femininity for me. But when you're out in the world and people are talking and you don't butt in and you don't cut them off and you don't check them and you don't do all that, I don't like your femininity there. Because when I see you do that with other people out in the world, I think you're weak-minded. What? Be careful. Be very careful when you're with a person and you're believing that you're special, that he can be kind to you but mean to other people. It doesn't last. It doesn't last. People revert to type. And that's why I meant that can people change? Sure, they can change, but they can change only to a certain degree. And can they change and keep that change consistent? No. So sometimes what you find people is you find people go in and out of change, in and out of change. Just when you take 2 steps forward with a person who, let's say a person was mean and you're trying to get them to be nice. Just when you think you're making some progress, oh wow, they're treating me so much nicer now. Boom. Next thing they backslide and you right back where you were before because they revert back to type. They revert back to type because they can only stay in that new phase for so long. For so long. So one of the ways, if you're locked into a relationship with a person like that, there's only a couple of things that you can do. If you can walk away from them before you're tied together, I say you walk away. If you're not married, if you're dating virtually like Sandia is, you walk away. It's too much work. It's too much change you're going to have to ask of this man. But if you're married to the person, you say, I want to give a little bit more work because I don't want to just walk away from my marriage. You got to resign yourself to a couple of things. One is you've got to resign yourself that the type of change that you may ever want from this person, they may never get there. They may never get there. So if you're trying to find happiness, you might only can expect a certain amount of change. But the other place you get that peace in your life is you start cutting that person off from those places in which they've done damage to you. You ever have a friend, you're real close to the friend, and you realize that the friend is causing you some emotional harm? You like the friend. There's parts about your relationship that you like. What you end up having to do is put boundaries around that friend. You may not tell that friend, hey, I'm never going to talk to you. I'm never going to hang around you. But you do give them boundaries. You say, I am going to expect some change from you. But one of the things you know about that person is they're not going to change a whole lot. They can change somewhat. So you still require change of them. But the other part is your work to do. And that is you say, I'm going to require some change, but I'm also going to put some boundaries around this person. This person isn't going to have free reign in my life or free reign to control my happiness because I can't trust them with that much responsibility in my life because I know they're not capable of enough change to handle all that responsibility. So that friend, I may step back from her a bit. She may not be the friend I can hang out with all the time. She may be the friend that I could talk to once a week, once a month, once every other month. I don't know. I would have to decide that for myself. But I would have to be dipping in and dipping out. I couldn't be there long periods of time because what I know about that friend is sure, she can demonstrate the change for a little bit of time. But if I stay there with her too long, eventually she's going to revert back to type. So what I can do is I can say, hey, I would still love to have some type of relationship with you, but it's going to require you to make some changes. When you make those changes, I'm willing to meet you there. But I do not believe you're capable of enough change that I would want to be here forever. So as a result, I'll accept your change. I will agree to be in some type of friendship with you, but I will have a boundary here because what I cannot do is I cannot be naive to think that I can trust you with everything because I already know that you can't handle everything and eventually you will hurt me. So in order for me to take back my happiness, I have to put a boundary around you. I have to stop expecting so much change from you so that I can be happy. What I have to do is accept the change that you can make. And then what I have to do is I have to make the changes in the way that I allow you to control my happiness in my life. That's if you still want to have a relationship with that person. But if you don't want to have a relationship with them and you don't want to do that parsing of what I just meant, then you need to walk away. And that's what I'm saying about Sandia. In this moment, there is so much of a gap between who Chris is and what Sandia is. I believe that there is so much change he would have to make for Sandia to show up in the relationship the way she really wants to, who she really is, that she will continually be stifled by Chris. And will she ever be happy? Because she will always have to be a lesser version of herself in order to keep him happy, but in turn, she won't be happy. Let's keep going and listening to what else Mr. Chris has to say.
So, and now I want to ask you, Sandia, those morals and values, you share those as well as sort of the thinking around masculinity and femininity. Do you agree with all of that?
Yes, we do. We talk about that a lot, and that's some of the things that we share a lot, and we talked about a lot. Family is important to me. So my parents, they've been married for almost 30 years. So I believe in marriage and I believe in relationship, and he does as well.
Okay.
So we share those things.
So what Sandia is concentrating on is the foundation of how they grew up. We share the same morals. And what she described was, I don't know if they share the same type of family dynamics. Maybe they share the same culture. But do they share the same morals? I don't think that they do. Because I don't think that they do because of the way that Chris described Sandia as weak-minded. Because she listened, because she had emotions. So to me, I'm like, well, I don't know if those are sharing the same morals, tenets in life. Because some people's morals are how you treat a person, how you respond to a person. Do you respond with kindness or do you respond with ridicule? Those are part of your morals. And what I believe is I don't think Chris necessarily shares the same morals as Sandia. Just because you both grew up with parents in the house, it doesn't mean you share the same morals. Just because you're both Haitian doesn't mean you share the same morals. Sandia needs to take a closer look on, do they really share the same morals? She really needs to do a deeper dive on that one. But let's keep going.
What does it feel like to think like, it's not just about Chris defending, but I can actually hold space for Sandia's emotion? How does it feel when you think about doing that and not just writing it off to emotion? Because that makes Sandia sound like there's something wrong with her.
Thank you, Dr. Ramani. This goes back to what I was saying. Can you hold a space in your life for Sandia's emotions? When you talk about you're a leader, a protector, a provider, leadership means, do you provide space for the people who are following you, or is there only space for you? Are you talking about leadership or dictatorship? Which one are you talking about? Are you the boss at work that says, hey, I don't need to listen to none of these minions, these employees. I'm the leader. I'm the boss. Do what I say. Is that leadership? What does leadership look like to you? Do you listen to your... So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes if you are out in the dating world and you're trying to figure out or find out these terms, leadership, what do people mean? Ask scenarios. If you're talking to a person and they're a manager on a job at work, ask how they lead their employees, because oftentimes that's how they're going to try to lead you at home. Are they a boss at work that says, do what I say? I'm the boss. Don't ask no questions. Are they a leader that listens to other people's thoughts? Now, they may make the final decision, but are they willing to listen? Do they belittle their employees? Do they belittle their thoughts? Let me tell you something. If you're dating a person and they are having struggles all the time leading teams at work, that might mean they struggle with leadership. That means they may have weak leadership capabilities. Doesn't mean they can't get better. Of course they can get better, but you've got to agree on what leadership looks like. Some people are poor leaders because they actually don't know what good leadership looks like. So when I hear Chris say, I want to be a leader, but do you know what good leadership looks like? And what type of leadership are you trying to emulate? Because you may be trying to emulate a dictatorship. That's not leadership. That's dictatorship. And you may not be, as a woman, you may not want to be up underneath a dictatorship. That's a whole nother leadership. And so Ramini here, Dr. Ramini brings up a good point, is what does it feel to hold space for Sandia's emotions and not just defending? And when she says defending, he's defending himself. See, he said he's a protector, but who is he protecting? He's protecting himself. And what he does is the way he fights back with Sandia is, because I want to protect my position, because I want to protect the way that I feel, what I must do is I must defend my emotions, which means I need to put yours down. So when he talks about he wants to be a protector, when I talk about a protector of what and of whom, that's a valid question, because he says he wants to be the protector of Sandia. But how can you protect me when you don't even want to listen to me and you don't even want to know what harms me? How can you protect me when I tell you when you pinch me, it hurts? You're not protecting me. You're hurting me. If you don't want to listen to my cries and you don't want to listen to what hurts me, then you're not here to protect me. You're here to protect yourself. You're here to protect what you want to do. You're defending yourself and you're hanging me out to dry. And that's what Dr. Ramani is getting to with Chris.
I guess empathizing with her is something that from past experiences is just something that's like that I need to learn again. I guess I need to it just takes time, but I need to learn it again.
Okay, that's right there is a red flag. What he just said is, I know what I need to do is I need to learn to empathize. Can you learn it? There's the change. When you have a person that has no empathy, can they learn empathy? Can they get better? I believe they can. But can they get enough better? Can they get better enough that it will satisfy you? When you're dealing with a person who says, I need to learn empathy. If I'm not married to you, that's okay. I want a person who is empathetic, period. I don't want to get with you and now you got to learn empathy. So I got to suffer all them blows of you being non-empathetic before you learn it. That's okay. You go do that on your own, because this is the damage I'm talking about. When you're dealing with a person who tells me, I have to learn to be empathetic. That's okay. You don't know how to do that? That means that's in your core. When he says, I've got to relearn it. No, this ain't no bike. I haven't ridden a bike in a long time. That means what you're telling me is you spent a lot of years being not empathetic and you want to relearn. I ain't ridden a bike in 20 years. I need to learn how to ride a bike again. You need to relearn how to be empathetic? No, thank you. That means I've got to suffer through you of you beating me up while you try to learn to be empathetic. And then I got to hope you can learn it. And then I got to hope that once you learn it, it sticks with you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Let's keep going.
I know that if she feels a certain way, I'm supposed to care about how she feels, and I'm supposed to want to make her feel better about the situation. I know that,
Good Lord. I'm supposed to, but you don't do it. See, that's why I keep saying he knows what he's supposed to because he reads the books. He knows what the world expects of him. You ever heard the phrase, everything we learned it in kindergarten. People know, they know right from wrong. That's not the problem about knowing. It's can you do it? That's the difference. And I don't want to be with someone that knows it, but that doesn't know how to do it. No, I want someone that knows it and does it, who can say it and do it. And what Chris is admitting to is, I know I'm supposed to care what she thinks about, but to be honest with you, I really don't care. But what I do know is I need to try to relearn that. No, thank you. You just told me that I'm supposed to care about what you think, but to be honest with you, I don't care. I'm really not interested, but I will try to relearn it. That ain't gonna stick. That is not gonna stick. If you just listen to his language, he's telling on himself. And people need to listen. Don't pay attention to his words that he's willing to try. But what you got to understand is, how difficult is that for a person who's really non-empathetic to learn empathy? Sure, they can learn it in situations. Sure, they can be it on occasions. But what you got to understand is, more than likely, you'll always be asking that of them, always pushing on that for them. There are certain behaviors where people can get better, but don't expect a whole lot of change. When you expect a person to go from here to here, don't get mad at them, people. Get mad at yourself, because your expectations for change are out of bounds. You're expecting way too much. So you're not going to be able to get on them and say, wow, you have never changed. You're still here. No, they might have changed from here to here, but they're not going to go from here to here. Let's hear what Dr. Ramani says.
Well, it's just that sometimes I just don't want to fight about certain things.
You said something that was so interesting to me, which is, I know I'm supposed to feel this way. I know I'm supposed to do this. I'd love to see you break beyond that, what I'm supposed to do.
And do it. Yes.
It needs to come from here, not here. Okay. And supposed to talk is from here. Mm-hmm. Feeling it and doing it, because you care about someone, that's here. And that's the language of a relationship.
Dr. Ronnie sees him. She says, I see you, Chris. When he says, I know I'm supposed to do it, but I just don't want to fight about it. The fighting is fighting himself. It's not fighting Sandia. Why is it a fight for you to listen to me? Why is that a fight? Why is it a fight? Because I have something to say. You see, even the descriptions of his words tell you about who he is. So when you're telling me that when I tell you my emotion, it's a fight, why would that be a fight? Why would me expressing, as Sandia said, that I feel uncomfortable, why is it a fight? You know why? It's a fight because her emotions are in conflict with his. That's the fight. That's the fight. And what it will be with Chris is, every time your thoughts, your opinions, your emotions are in conflict with him, it will be a fight. And then what he will say as the man of the house, the leader of the house, is, I don't want us always fighting. So the solution as the leader will be, you need to adopt my feelings. You need to adopt my mindset, and the fight will be over. And if you don't adopt my emotions and my feelings and my thoughts, that means you're the problem. You're the one fighting. No, I'm not. My emotions inherently are not a fight. My thoughts inherently are not a fight. Me expressing my pain and my hurt isn't inherently a fight. It's only a fight to you because you don't agree with them and you only want your voice, your thoughts to reign supreme all the time. So you feel that my emotions are in conflict with your emotions, and so therefore I'm a conflict. See, you've described my emotions and labeled them to me. That's what he's done. So because Sandia has emotions, she's in conflict. She's not in conflict. She's not even trying to have an argument with you. What do you mean? But that's how he describes it. When he says, I just don't want to fight about things. Why is it a fight when I tell you I'm uncomfortable? Because he doesn't want to deal with your emotions. But my emotions are a part of me. You can't separate me from my emotions. You want me to turn off my emotions so that there is no fight. But then guess what, Chris? You just told me you like my femininity. You just told me you like me being agreeable. You just told me that you like me being kind and nurturing. But now what you want me to do is you want me to turn off all those emotions so that I'm not fighting with you. Boom, there it is. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. This isn't work that Sandia needs to be doing with Chris. This is work that Chris needs to be doing with a therapist. And whatever change he can make, whether he can go from here to here or from here to here, he needs to do that with a therapist. Come back and let me see how much change you've made. And then I'll figure out, is it enough for me? That's what I'll do. But am I going to sit here in the ring with you while you beat me up to get this amount of change from you? No, I'm not doing it. I'm going to do what I said before. I'm going to put boundaries around this relationship. I'm going to put boundaries around you, because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to become a victim of you while you're trying to heal and grow. That's fine. I want you to heal and grow. But what you're not going to do while you're healing and growing is tearing me down so much that now you come out better and I come out worse, because that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Even if Chris does get better, the person who pays the price the most for his growth will be Sandia. No, let Chris go do that work with a Dr. Ramani. And after you do that work with a Dr. Ramani, you can call me. Call me. And if I'm still around, I will reevaluate you to see if you've made enough change. And if you have, good. I'm happy for it. But if you haven't, then know what? I spare myself some heartache and some pain. Anyway, that's it, y'all. That's all I got. Let me know what you think, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.